The Raptors-Celtics series has been everything fans expected it to be. From Jaylen Brown not accepting Kyle Lowry's handshake after a questionable flagrant foul, to Nick Nurse telling the Raptors players after the game to fuck 'em directly at the Celtics, we all knew it would come down to a final game, but only after a legendary Game 6. Today I'm going to break down one of the best postseason games in a while and summarize what happened. In the series so far, the Celtics' two main playmakers have been Kemba Walker and Jason Tatum. At the beginning of Game 6 and for most of it, Nick Nurse used a box and one on Kemba Walker and doubled Tatum whenever he tried driving or in the pick and roll. You may be familiar with the box and one because Nurse pulled it out last year against the Warriors, but for people who are not familiar with this defensive scheme, a box and one is essentially where four defenders are playing zone and the other defender is playing man-to-man defense, primarily on the player they're targeting. In this case, Fred VanVleet is the main man-to-man defender on Kemba Walker. Because of the attention on Tatum and Walker, Nurse wanted Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart to beat the Raptors with shots. Brown and Smart were up to the challenge. Tatum and Walker would often occupy the top of the key and Smart and Brown would be waiting in the corner for threes. This worked well to start the game as Smart and Brown made 5 threes in the first quarter to start the game. As I play these clips, you're going to notice that most of these corner shots are wide open, and this is a designed defensive scheme by the Raptors. According to Clean the Glass, the Raptors have given up 13% of opposing field goal attempts on corner threes. To understand how rare this is, here is a graphic to show each NBA team's defensive rating and the amount of corner threes they give up. The purple dot is the Toronto Raptors, which is a complete outlier. This is what they've done all year. Put increased attention on the team's best playmakers and force players with decent to no track record to make threes to beat them. Once Jaylen Brown realized that the Raptors wanted him to beat them, he started becoming more and more aggressive and thus had 21 points in the first half for a hot start. Because of Brown's hot start and the Raptors' lethargic offense, the Celtics were able to draw first blood and create a lead as high as 12. But Serge Ibaka, who was questionable to play Game 6, gave them a huge lift in the second quarter. The Raptors started playing with more pace, and Serge Ibaka, as he has had for most of this series, punished the Celtics for helping off of him by continuously making threes. He is shooting 52.8% on threes in the playoffs and 14 for 27 overall in this series alone. He was so good that the Raptors ran an inverted pin down for him as Lowry screened Tice that got Ibaka open for his third consecutive three. The Raptors started getting some rhythm and went to the pick and roll against Tice as much as possible, which has been an issue all series for the Celtics. Lowry gets 2 easy buckets on a 3 and a jumper, and because of this, the Raptors are only down 4 going into halftime. In the second half, the Raptors throw the first punch again, with the pick and pop this time with Marc Gasol. Now crazy enough, Marc Gasol, who is a 38.5% three-point shooter in the regular season, hadn't made 1 3 until the second half of Game 6. This was crucial because the Celtics had left him alone all series and it had worked up until this point. Gasol made 2 threes in the third quarter and Fred VanVleet got hot as well by making 2 threes, including this one on a switch with Grant Williams. The Raptors were playing in rhythm, and with the ball handler and the roll man both getting hot, the Celtics realized that they needed to play this differently. So Brad Stevens decided to break out a zone. By using a zone scheme against the Raptors, this prevents them from running pick and rolls with the big man, and against a zone, teams are at their best with crisp passing and patience, but the Celtics are quick enough with their length to create havoc and it worked. The Raptors scored 30 points in the first 9 minutes, but only 3 points in the last 3 minutes of the third when the Celtics went to the zone, which now takes us to the fourth quarter. After a Marcus Smart inspirational speech, the Celtics offense that struggled in the third came out swinging in the fourth. Again, the Raptors continuously wanted Brown and Smart to beat them, and again, as they play these clips, you're going to notice that their shots are all wide open in the corner. As the great scorers Walker and Tatum are, they continuously made the right play. They would penetrate knowing they would automatically draw multiple defenders and pass it right into Brown and Smart shooting pockets. The biggest issue was Ibaka. As quick as he is for a big man, he couldn't keep up in the pick and roll, which often forced multiple defenders to come and help, which left Smart and Brown open for threes. This continuous penetration for threes led to Nick Nurse's final adjustment on the defensive end. After the Tatum 3, Nick Nurse took out Serge Ibaka and inserted OG Anunoby at center to make the Raptors ultra switchable. The Raptors hadn't broken this lineup out in the Celtics series, but with their season on the line and the Celtics in a rhythm, Nurse decided that going 5 out on offense and having more quickness on the defensive end would do the job. On the first play with the substitution, the Raptors' quickness helped second guess the Celtics players into shooting shots that with half a second more are probably taken. and this led to an ultimate scramble mode until Smart takes an open 3, but it's very late in the shot clock and he misses. The Celtics only scored 9 points in the final 8 minutes of the fourth quarter after the Anunoby substitution, but the Celtics later figured out in overtime that their defense had no answer for Daniel Theis, who is just bigger than the rest of their lineup. Although the Raptors were able to switch and rotate quicker, this opened up lobs to Theis in deep paint positions that they could not stop over and over again. And as you can tell now, this is the chess match between Brad Stevens and Nick Nurse. But let's talk about Kyle Lowry for a second. The Raptors earlier in the series went to Pascal Siakam in the clutch, which did not work because his game does not entail off the dribble scoring, so they decided to rely on their veteran Kyle Lowry. After the Marcus Smart missed 3, Kyle Lowry made 2 important threes to help the Raptors gain brief control over the game. Both of them were over taller and longer defenders in Tatum and Brown, and in overtime, he took advantage of Kemba Walker multiple times, mostly on the fadeaway. Here in the first overtime, he backs his big booty down Walker and gets a great shot in the paint. There is no question without his shot making and excellent post defense on Tatum and Brown multiple times, the Raptors are going home seeking a guy who can give them quality offense at the end of games. With the 5-out offense, the Raptors were able to get better looks, especially in overtime. When it appeared the Celtics may have had control over the game, Norman Powell made 2 crucial threes to help the Raptors gain the lead from, again, the pick and roll on Theis. You can see on these plays how the Celtics needed to help Theis on the penetration, which opened up wide open threes for Powell. Unfortunately for Brad Stevens, he does not have the luxury to get Gordon Hayward in the game. With Hayward, the Fred VanVleet pick and roll turns into a switch and back to an isolation, and so you can see where Hayward's lack of presence affects the game on the defensive end. The rest of this game just came down to who could execute better, and the Raptors made one more play than the Celtics. Again, on the pick and roll with Theis, Lowry sucks in Theis and Smart, which gives OG Anunoby an open 3 at the top of the key. And after Powell strips Tatum, he gets an and 1 on Smart, which essentially helped the Raptors secure the lead for good. As good as Tatum has been, his biggest weakness is dribbling through traffic, which causes many turnovers, and one of the final parts of his game that he will need to improve at a decent level to become the superstar that many fans anticipate him to be. And so I saved the ref talk for last because it was all over Reddit and Twitter last night. It is pretty clear that the refs definitely botched some calls at the end of the fourth quarter, primarily Nick Nurse being on the court that confused Jason Tatum, which should have resulted in a technical foul, and the Kemba Walker no call that was a foul from Fred VanVleet. However, it is hard to say that the Celtics got robbed with all the opportunities they had to close out the game, especially in the fourth quarter. Tatum struggled to decide what to do against Fred VanVleet, and Kemba Walker struggled scoring the ball. Give the Raptors credit as they continued making plays even when it looked like they were done, and that has carried over to the highly anticipated and expected 7th game between these two teams. In Game 7, the Celtics are going to need to decide how they want to guard the pick and rolls with Theis, because it's hurt them all series with Ibaka or Anunoby, and they will also need to figure out how they want to guard Kyle Lowry down the stretch, primarily whether Walker is the right defender for him or if they need to keep Smart on him at all times. And on the other side, the Raptors need to figure out how to get Siakam better matchups than Brown and Smart, who have owned him all series long defensively except Game 4. Lowry and VanVleet have carried a good amount of the load, and I'm not sure if they can gut out another game without Siakam contributing much. Either way, I am confident that these two teams will give us another great game, and whoever wins this game has a great chance of going to the finals, with all due respect to the Heat. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and enjoy Game 7. Peace out.